We are now joined by our pole sitter for tomorrow's race, Christopher Bell, driver of the number 20 Series XM Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Congratulations, Christopher. We're excited for you. We'll go ahead and open it up for questions. If you have one, please raise your hand and we'll get to you as soon as we can. Who would like to start? We will go right in the back.
Justin Schuler, kicking the tires. How do you approach these next two races with no playoff winners yet? 6 guys can make it on points.
Yeah, it's not the position we wanted to be in. You know, going into Texas, I knew that Texas was going to be a very, very important race, and I thought that we would perform well, and we did perform well before the DNF. So. Our goal leaving Texas was to be above the cutoff line and maybe have a little bit of a bonus going into Talladega and the Roval. And unfortunately, that's not the way it played out. And now the only way forward is going to be to try and, score as many points as we can. So going to have to race hard all day tomorrow and see where the cards fall.
Are there additional questions for Christopher? We'll come down here to Bob and then go to Holly.
Bob Parker's Fox Sports. You said last week that your decision was kind of made for you to get stage points and everything. So how much is sitting on the pole? Did you have any more emphasis to sit on the pole today than maybe some of the other guys you're racing?
No. Speedway poles they're not much to do with me. It's more so about the team. And with us winning the pole here in the spring, we thought that we would have a good shot at it. But, you can go from the back to the front and from the front to the back, a handful of times before they pay the points at lap 60. So, I think that winning the pole was a great testimony to the team, but it really has no effect on the race tomorrow.
We'll go to Holly and then to Dustin here in the front.
Thanks. Holly Kane with the NASCAR Wire Service. That was going to be my question, but I also wanted to ask you, is it even possible for Talladega to become more intense than it normally is anyway, with this being a playoff race and it's so much up for grabs still?
Yeah, I'm trying to think into last year's playoff race. It rained and I made it to the end of the race, so I don't remember a lot of wrecking in this race in a year from now. But I don't know. I think that people will be calm, especially to start the race, and then whenever it comes time to get those points, it's going to ramp up, and the likelihood for a wreck is going to increase.
We'll go to Dustin and then to Matt.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Christopher, how challenging is it to move up and back through the field at this place? Obviously, it's wider than Daytona, but with this car, if you get shuffled back, what are the challenges in trying to get back up into a top 10 late in a stage?
Yeah, so I would say that Talladega generally is a little bit easier to move back and forth than Daytona just because of the width, and typically the lanes aren't as blocked up. But, generally speaking, I don't have a ton of experience on super speedways with this car. I wrecked out really early at the Daytona 500, and then the Daytona fall race, I wrecked out early again. Talladega, I guess I had an okay run, but wasn't racing for the win at the end of the race because I got trapped a lap down. So, I hope that the Toyotas are able to get together because it seems like that's been at least my most successful speedway races whenever I have a group to work with and not kind of fending for myself. So, I don't know if that really answers it, but speedway racing has not really been kind to me, so hopefully we can change that narrative tomorrow.
Were you able to either attend or view the meeting that Burton and the Drivers Advisory Council put on yesterday? And if so, did anything enlighten you? Obviously, a lot of conversations in the sport about safety in the car and so forth. Did anything enlighten you with what you learned if you were a part of that meeting?
Yeah, so I was able to call in and listen, and for sure the positives are that there is stuff in the works to better specifically the rear impacts, and ironically that's been the majority of my crashes this year has been rear impacts, and they've hurt really bad. So I'm glad that there's stuff in the works to improve those style impacts, and hopefully we can just continue to improve the safety of the next gen car, because the wrecks hurt right now.
And I don't want to presume too much, but I know that every accident is different, every reaction, every body is different. I know you had talked in the past about some of your rear end accidents, about having the headaches and things like that. Obviously, we've seen a couple guys with concussions. Looking back, do you ever worry that you might have had a concussion in those type of situations, or from your viewpoint, it was just a simple headache?
I mean, it's hard to say. A headache is definitely not a good sign or a good symptom, but from the days moving on past that, I don't recall any symptoms that raised any red flags that says I shouldn't get in the race car the following week. So if that was the case, then I definitely would have raised my hand and said, hey guys, something's not right. But fortunately, I guess I've been able to heal, or just the symptoms have gone away.
We'll go to Matt.
Matt Weaver, Racing America. I guess first, do you feel like you're in must-win situation yet?
I mean, pretty close. I think that if we were going to anywhere except Talladega, it would be more likely to be a must-win. But tomorrow, there's going to be likely crashes, and out of the 12 cars, I would assume that some of those 12 cars are going to have bad days. Hopefully, it's not me. And so with that being said, we'll evaluate the points after Talladega and see where we're at. So, yeah, I think that is one thing that is working to my advantage in the position I am in, because you never know what's going to happen at Talladega, and it could be a good day for me, it could be a bad day for me. We just don't know.
So given that you're starting from the pole, do you feel some extra imperative to try to maximize stage points? Because once you get to the third stage, who knows what could happen. So if you bank 15, 20 playoff points, you come away with a good day regardless.
Yeah, that's number one on our goals for sure, and it was before we even qualified. So before Texas, our ideal situation was to score high points at Texas and then basically ride at Talladega and try and, miss the wrecks early on in the race and take our top 20 or whatever we were able to get at Talladega. And with us getting no points at Texas, it forces our hand to have to go for those stage points. So starting on the pole, hopefully we're able to maintain track position throughout the first 60 laps, but it's such a long run, and we have to have a green flag pit stop in there. So it's just a long way to go before they pay out stage points. But for sure, we have to be in the running of it, and we're going to have to contend if we want to transfer on.
We'll come down here to the front to Jeff. And then we'll wrap with Steven.
This might be sort of an ignorant question, so apologies if it is, but do all wrecks hurt in the same way? Like, you've taken like huge vicious wrecks in a midget. Like when you get hit in the rear here, is that comparable, or is that two different sensations?
I'm trying to think, but I guess they are similar. If you hit your head, you hit your head. And definitely the rear impacts, for whatever reason, are impacting our it's a head that's an issue. But yeah, so I would say if you hit your head, you hit your head.
And in a midget or a sprint car, when you're wrecking, are you like bracing forward, like how they're asking you to?
Yeah.
So
typically that is my brace impact. I will lock out my Hans tethers, grip the wheel, and just kind of close my eyes and brace for impact, right? But it is interesting that that's the worst thing to do for a rear impact, and I'm sure it's the same way in a sprint car too. So one thing that we've been talking about is decreasing our Hans tethers, which ironically Kyle Busch has been really, really hard on that ever since he had his incident at Daytona years ago. So that was whenever I was first getting started in NASCAR, and he pushed that hard on me to make sure that our Hans tethers are as short as we can stand. So I'll probably take another step in shortening those just so that my head is more contained. But yeah, definitely brace impact is, lock your head forward and grip the wheel as tight as you can.
We'll take a final question from Steven, right here in the middle.
Stephen Toronto, CBS Sports. Along the same topic of sprints and midgets, and I ask this I asked Kyle the same question earlier, but there was a narrative for so many years that car owners were hesitant to allow you and other drivers to race sprints and midgets because of the idea that those disciplines were dangerous. Safety was an issue there a couple of years ago, especially after Jason Leffler and Brian Clausen had their accidents. And now all of a sudden, stock cars, having been regarded as so safe for so long, now there's safety issues in this discipline. So for you, is it surprising or shocking at all that now we're in a situation where the narrative has shifted on safety in stock car racing?
Yeah, I think it's very, very, very surprising and not where we want to be for sure as stock car racing in general. But the good news is that we realize where we're at, I think, as an industry. And at least from our meeting yesterday, it seems like NASCAR's, they understand where we're at too, and everyone's focused on moving forward. But yeah, it's surprising, and I don't think anyone would have seen it coming a couple years ago.
Thanks, Christopher.
All right, Christopher. Thank you for your time. Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks.